Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Positive Proof Podcast. I'm your host, Parmis Najmi, and I'm so glad that you're here. If you want to listen to more episodes like this one on self-improvement, mindset, and wellness, go ahead and hit that follow button to join the family. Before I get into today's episode, I just want to ask you guys for a quick and kind favor, and that is if you haven't yet left a review, I would absolutely appreciate if you could do so. It helps so much to build this podcast and help it grow so that we can increase the positive impact we make and just overall make it a bigger community. Also, if you're looking for daily motivation, follow me on Instagram at Positive Proof Podcast, where I post behind the scenes content and daily quotes that serve as sweet daily reminders. And if anyone is wondering how to leave episode requests, you can actually send me your thoughts via the DM me your thoughts link in the description or via Instagram DM as well. Now, let's be honest. When you're truly locked in on your own life, when you're focused, fulfilled, and showing up for yourself daily, there is barely any space for jealousy to exist. Not because you're some enlightened, perfectly evolved person, but because you are too busy building to be watching. You're too busy creating to be comparing. And you don't have time to spiral about so-and-so's body or her brand deal or her relationship, her energy, because you are already investing in your own. But when you're not, when you're disconnected or distracted or doubting yourself, that is when jealousy creeps in. Not because she's ahead, but because you are not present. And I say that with love. Jealousy isn't a personality flaw. It's not something to beat yourself up about, but it is a signal, one that is worth paying attention to. Because if you let it go unchecked, it becomes a distraction that costs you more than just a bad mood. It costs you your clarity. It drains your confidence. It steals your time and energy that you could be pouring into your own growth. And the worst part, it convinces you that someone else's win is proof of your failure, when it's actually the opposite. It's proof that it's possible. So in today's episode, I am calling it all out. We are going deep into where jealousy really comes from, what it actually reveals about your relationship with yourself, and how to shift that energy back into something useful, something powerful. Because you don't need to be jealous. You just need to reconnect with a version of you that's ready to rise. Now, quick poll check-in before we dive in. If you're tuning in from Spotify, I want you to scroll down and vote what you do first when jealousy hits. Do you keep scrolling and low-key spiral for a bit? Or do you screenshot or share with a friend to vent? Do you mute or unfollow and pretend it didn't bother you? Or do you jot down a note or take one tiny action to move on from it? Let me know and cast your vote down below. Now let's dive into today's episode. Do you ever notice how jealousy creeps in when your calendar is suspiciously open and your own potential is on Do Not Disturb? Those two dynamics, the idle stillness and the ignored dream, are actually one and the same. Think about the moments when jealousy hits you the hardest. It's not when you're in your flow. It's not when you're busy doing what you love or taking care of your body or focused on your goals or feeling aligned and grounded. No. Jealousy creeps in when you're idle, when you're disconnected from your purpose or procrastinating on what you know you should be doing and spending way too much time watching other people live the life you are avoiding building for yourself. In those gaps, 5 minutes on social turns into a 30-minute spiral, and suddenly someone else's highlight reel feels like a personal attack. But here's the thing. They're not winning because they're better. They're just in motion. They're posting because they've created something. They're glowing because they've been showing up for themselves. They're sharing results because they've been behind the scenes putting in reps. Meanwhile, you're just seeing the highlight and you're comparing it to your pause. I'm going to say that again. You are just seeing the highlight and comparing it to your pause. Comparison, by the way, is always a time lapse. You against a screenshot of someone else's chapter 20. And again, I say this with love. If you have enough time and mental energy to be jealous, it probably means you're not busy enough with your own life. Because when you're in your own lane, taking action, even if you're not where you want to be yet, you don't care what she's doing. You admire it maybe, and you clap for it, but it doesn't shake you. It doesn't trigger that insecure voice because you know you're building too. Action drowns out envy every single time. There is something magnetic about being immersed in your own vision. You could be miles away from your goals, but if you're locked in even a little bit, that jealousy, it starts to fade. It gets replaced by motivation, by curiosity, by drive, and you stop asking, why her, and start thinking, all right, time to get to work. Your focus shifts from surveillance mode to creation mode, and that is where momentum is born. So the next time that jealousy voice pops up, I want you to pause. Don't spiral. Don't shame yourself. Just check in and ask yourself, where have I stopped showing up? What am I avoiding right now? What version of me is being ignored? Self-honesty cracks jealousy's shell faster than any pep talk could, because it's not about her. It really never was. It's about how far you've drifted from your own path. And you don't get rid of jealousy by thinking your way out of it. You dissolve it by doing, by moving, by deciding that your life deserves more of your attention than hers ever did. Consistent motion is the antidote. Motion drowns out envy every single time. And here's where we usually fumble. We wrap that intel in excuses, like, I'm too late to start, or I'd need another degree, or she has resources that I don't. None of those stories have been tested. They're bubble wrap for your comfort zone. Meanwhile, the more you stare at her progress, the more invisible your own possibilities feel. And that cycle tightens. Now, another cheat code, I want you to study wins like tutorials instead of indictments. She launched a course? Cool. Note how many weeks she teased it, or what platform she used, or how she packaged her offer. Turn why her into how me. And then you move from powerless observer to engaged participant. Remember, timelines are social constructs we invented to stress ourselves out. Spotify doesn't cap how many songs can stream, and the universe doesn't cap how many people can thrive. When the jealous voice resurfaces, and it will, pause instead of spiraling and ask, where am I avoiding my own growth? And then pivot from surveillance mode to creation mode. Even imperfect progress makes comparison feel pointless because you are too busy building. You'll find the jealousy hum fades when you reclaim the energy you were about to waste and pour it back into yourself. In short, jealousy equals idle time plus self-neglect. Solve one and you usually solve the other. But I want you to keep it moving. Keep listening to what your envy is trying to show you. And remember, the antidote isn't dimming her light, it's flipping on your own and walking towards it, inch by imperfect inch. Moving on to point number 2. Let's talk about how easy it is to fall into the trap of romanticizing someone else's outcome without ever thinking about the process that got them there. You see the brand launch, the perfect relationship, the toned body, the postcard-worthy vacation content, and it looks effortless. It almost shimmers on your screen as if the universe simply handed them a level up card, while you were still fumbling with yesterday's to-do list. And in that moment, it is so tempting to declare that life is unfair, or to feel like everyone else is sprinting ahead while you are stuck in the cheap seats just watching playbacks. But remember, what you are reacting to is the result. You are seeing the highlight, the polished product, the glow-up reel. And what you're not seeing, and what jealousy conveniently ignores, is the invisible grind that all of that required. The drafts nobody liked, the launches that flop, the workouts that felt pointless, the sleepless nights spent questioning, is this even worth it? You're not seeing the 10 times that they almost quit, or the months where nothing gained traction, or even the tears behind the post that only captured the smile. That is where jealousy gets sneaky. It convinces you that you're somehow slacking off, or that you're missing a secret door, when really you're just observing someone who's further down the path and forgetting that they walked to get there, probably for a very long time. And if you scroll through their camera roll or their bank of unposted drafts, you'd likely see years of mediocre attempts and awkward first tries that never saw daylight. And here's the unfiltered truth that no one really advertises. Jealousy usually doesn't mean you deeply want what they have. It means you want it without the discomfort. You crave the sculpted physique, but not the 6 a.m. alarms or the disciplined nutrition or the sore muscles. You crave the thriving business, but not the endless client emails or the bookkeeping headaches or the months of zero profit. Social media compresses progress into a split-second dopamine hit, so your brain interprets it as instantaneous. But try replicating the outcome without mirroring the process, and you're going to hit a wall every time. So if jealousy is flaring up, treat it like a notification. Am I romanticizing the reward while ignoring the climb? Do you want what she has, or do you want what it represents, like freedom, admiration, security? If it's truly aligned with your values, then the next move isn't more scrolling, it's stepping into the messy middle, showing up, getting awkward and imperfect and sweaty, letting yourself be bad before you're good and good before you're great. When that jealous spiral starts tightening, I want you to pause and ask, am I idolizing a shortcut? Because obsession isn't inspiration. The thing is, inspiration stretches you and invites you into possibility, while jealousy, it shrinks you, it drains you, and it locks you into consumption mode. And the antidote isn't some fluffy affirmation to just think positive. The cure is action, or reps, or motion. Start showing up for your process, the one nobody claps for yet. Batch the reel that nobody sees, draft the blog post that nobody reads, lift the weights that nobody notices, because that's what you did. That's what every so-called overnight success actually contains. Nights, plural, full of unglamorous work. So the next time someone's polished milestone lights up your feed, remember there is a messy Google Doc or a string of cringy first takes and a calendar of uncelebrated hours behind it. Feel the sting if it comes, then let it nudge you forward, not flatten you. Because the only path from jealousy to joy is paved with work that you're willing to do when no one's watching. And that's the part that you can control, starting right now. Okay, moving on to point number 3. You know that glow that you sometimes get jealous of? The one where a girl just seems so confident or grounded or magnetic, like she's kind of floating through life with this effortless energy. Yeah, that didn't come from a serum. That kind of glow is built and it's earned. It's the result of 1,000 little aligned choices. It's showing up for yourself when no one's watching. It's discipline, it's boundaries, it's saying no to the things that drain you. It's deciding that you deserve better and then acting like it. Think about the micro moments that create that shine, like waking up 15 minutes earlier so you can stretch instead of snooze, or choosing a glass of water over another coffee because you know your body's limits, or closing your laptop at 10 p.m. because rest trumps one more email. None of those moments are glamorous enough for social media, but they stack up. One aligned choice turns into 10 into 100, and suddenly your aura feels different. You didn't manifest it out of thin air, you manifested it out of habits. And when you're not doing those things, that kind of energy feels threatening. When you're not in integrity with yourself, or when you're skipping the gym, ghosting your goals, ignoring your gut, letting your boundaries slide, anyone who is in alignment is going to trigger you. Not because they're doing anything wrong, but because they're holding up a mirror to everything that you are avoiding. And that mirror can feel brutal. Envy is often just self-betrayal with a spotlight on it. And I've also had moments in the past where someone's energy made me uncomfortable, and I had to be honest with myself. It wasn't jealousy in the traditional sense, it was the tension of knowing that I could be operating at a higher level and I wasn't. And that's what we're really reacting to half the time. It's not, why is she like that? It's more like, why am I not choosing that for myself? And honestly, that question is painful. I get it, but it's also empowering, because if the block is you, the fix is also you. And I'm going to say that again. If the block is you, the fix is also you. You are not waiting for a gatekeeper to hand over permission. You are waiting for your own decision. Because that lightness and that ease, it's not magic. It's not luck. It's the byproduct of doing the inner work and not abandoning yourself when it's inconvenient. For example, the person you're jealous of, she probably meditates on the days it feels pointless. She journals even when the page stays blank for 5 minutes. She says, sorry, I can't make it tonight when her social battery is drained. Those mundane choices build unshakable self-trust. And if you're not doing that work right now, I get it. Life is heavy. Trust me, I get it. It is easy to get distracted, but don't trick yourself into thinking someone else's glow is unrelatable or unattainable. It's not. You just have to stop shrinking when you see it and start showing up instead. And showing up might look like blocking 2 hours on a Sunday to meal prep, or finally booking that therapy session, or simply putting your phone in the other room while you read. Small, doable, repeatable actions are the bricks of that glow. It is so easy to spiral into comparison when someone is radiating confidence. But what if instead of asking, why does she have that, you asked, what would it look like for me to embody that energy? Not in her way, not copying her vibe, but in a way that's rooted in your truth. That is where the real confidence lives. That is where the glow actually begins. Maybe your version isn't sunrise workouts. It could be evening yoga or lunchtime walks. Maybe her glow comes from minimalist fashion, but yours come from bold colors. The point isn't replication, it's alignment. So if somebody's light is making you feel small, take a breath and reframe it. You're not being excluded. You're being invited to rise, to align, to earn that energy in your own way. Because you can't fake that glow. You can't shortcut it, but you can build it every single time you choose to show up. So accept the invitation. Missed workouts, messy drafts, awkward first steps, bring them all. Stack the tiny choices. One day, someone will look at your glow and wonder which serum that you're using, and you're going to smile knowing it came from something no bottle can hold. Self-integrity practiced on repeat. Moving on to point number 4. Jealousy is such a time thief, seriously, a full-on pickpocket for your schedule. And I don't think we talk about that enough. The amount of mental real estate we spend spiraling, comparing, overanalyzing someone else's highlight reel, it adds up fast. Think of every minute you've lost daydreaming about her vacation photos, or rereading her LinkedIn update, or replaying that one TikTok that made you feel less than. That is time that you could have spent doing literally anything else. Writing a chapter, getting some sunlight, FaceTiming your bestie, leveling up a skill, or just lying on the couch guilt-free with a face mask on. Instead, we loop ourselves into thought patterns that leave us drained and discouraged and frozen in place. And here's the kicker. Comparison doesn't only waste your time, it straight up blocks your growth. Because while you're camped out in why is she ahead of me territory, you're not asking the question that actually matters. Like, what do I need to start? What do I need to do next? One of those questions is an engine, and the other is a parking brake. Guess which one moves you forward? Spoiler alert, it's never the one that starts a pity spiral. And if you're going to feel that jealous pull, and let's be real, we all do from time to time, at least let it teach you something. Treat it like data, a little notification ping from your subconscious. Ask yourself, what exactly am I jealous of right now? And what's the precise trigger? Is it her consistency or her visibility or the way she speaks up without flinching? Be annoyingly specific, because clarity, it kills jealousy. The more vague the envy, the more power it has over you. Once you shine a flashlight on it, it turns into a mirror. And suddenly, it's not just an icky feeling, it's a helpful intel. Now, after you identify the trigger, I want you to dig one layer deeper. Like, what am I not doing that I know I should be? 9 times out of 10, that is where the itch lives. Jealousy tends to flare when there's a noticeable gap between your potential and your current action. The wider that gap, the louder the envy. Your brain is basically saying, hey, I see a version of us that could exist, and I'm frustrated we're not meeting her yet. Here's the good news. You can absolutely flip that script. Jealousy can be fuel if you let it push you instead of paralyze you. Let it be a spark, like a personal alarm clock that goes off whenever you catch yourself scrolling life away. And the moment you realize, like, wow, this bothers me because I actually care, that is your cue to pivot from observer to participant. So next time you tumble into that rabbit hole, I want you to pause and take a breath. Get curious instead of judgmental, and then take action. Send that pitch email you've been drafting in your head, or walk around the block to clear the mental fog. Open the damn Canva file and finish the graphic. These are examples. It could be anything, but just do one small thing that edges you closer to the version of yourself that you actually respect. And that is how you snatch your power back from the time thief. Because here's the undeniable truth. You can't be jealous and evolving at the same time. One state invites momentum, the other hits pause. So choose wisely and choose often. Your future self is already thanking you for every minute you refuse to waste on comparison. And that starts with listening to this podcast episode. Point number 5. Let's talk about the energy shift that changes everything. Moving from jealousy to inspiration. Now, jealousy is tight. It's constricting. It makes you feel small, like there is not enough room at the table, and it triggers you into lack. You start thinking thoughts like, she's already doing it, so now I can't. Or why is this so easy for her and not for me? And it creates this imaginary competition that doesn't even exist, and you end up feeling stuck. Not because you're behind, but because you've decided there's no space for you to win too. But inspiration, on the other hand, inspiration is open. It breathes. It makes you feel hopeful and excited and clear. It doesn't make you question yourself. It reminds you who you are. When you're in inspired energy, your first thought isn't why her, it's, okay, so this is possible. What would it look like for me? And that shift is everything. Because the truth is, the women you're watching, or the ones you admire, the ones who trigger you a little bit, or the ones who seem to have that unbothered glow, they're not exceptions. They're not lucky. They're just doing the work, and they're being consistent. They've chosen to rise instead of spiral. And when you let that inspire you instead of intimidate you, you get access to something way more powerful: clarity, motivation, and self-trust. Inspired energy says, I'm not going to copy her, but I'm going to observe her. I'm going to study what's working, and I'm going to apply it in my own way. That's not envy. That is called strategy. And here's the thing. When you operate from inspiration, your energy becomes so attractive. You become magnetic, not because you're perfect, but because you're grounded. You're not sending out signals of comparison or desperation or self-doubt, because trust me, people notice even when you think they don't. You're going to be simply focused. You're going to be clear. You're going to be in motion, and people feel that too. Opportunities feel that. The universe responds to that. So the next time someone's life or energy makes you feel some type of way, don't just brush it off. Lean into it. Ask yourself, what is it about her that I'm drawn to? Is it her discipline, her softness, her ability to speak up, her consistency, her self-respect? And then you're going to ask yourself, what would it look like for me to cultivate that in my own life? Because once you stop resenting people and start learning from them, everything accelerates. You grow faster, you attract better, you're not stuck anymore, you're inspired, and that's a completely different frequency. So instead of scrolling and feeling jealous, I want you to scroll and study. Notice what's possible. Stay open, stay teachable. Let her remind you not of what you're lacking, but of what's available when you align. And repeat this to yourself whenever you feel that jealousy start to creep in again. I don't compete, I calibrate. Let her light raise your standards, not dim your self-worth. Let her path wake you up to your own, because that's where the real glow starts. Now, to wrap everything up, I just want to say, jealousy isn't some deep, dark flaw. It's really not something to be ashamed of. It's just feedback, and that's all. We all go through it. Everyone's felt it. It's your mind and body's way of telling you something is out of alignment, that you've stepped away from your own path, your own momentum, and your own sense of self. Because when you're in motion and when you're clear on who you are and what you're working toward, you genuinely don't have the time or energy to obsess over what someone else is doing. You're too focused, you're too grounded, you're too locked in. But when you're not, when you're idle or disconnected or spiraling, that is when the jealousy sneaks in. It fills the space that you should have been filling with your own growth. So let it all be a wake-up call, not a shame spiral. You don't need to sit there feeling guilty or embarrassed for feeling jealous. You just need to listen. Ask yourself what it's trying to teach you. Ask what part of you is feeling neglected, ignored, or forgotten. And then choose to do something about it. Because the truth is, most of the time, the woman that you're jealous of, again, they're not doing anything wildly different than what you could be doing. They're just showing up more consistently, and that's about it. They're not better than you, and they're not more deserving. They're just not watching. They're building. So stop handing your power over to people who are simply more focused. Get back in your lane. Tune back into your vision. You don't need to be jealous. You just need to do the work. And when in doubt, let her remind you of what's possible, not what's missing. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a comment down below. And if you made it this far, I appreciate you so, so much. And I can't wait to chat with you again in next week's episode. Lots of love, Parmis.